I'm David Liggett with Data Center Hawk, and I'm here with Corey Dyer, Executive Vice President, Global Sales and Marketing with Digital Realty, and we're talking about the data center industry next. Hey, I'm David Liggett with Data Center Hawk, focused on cloud and co-location, data center industry trends, the dynamic market. Well, Corey, thank you for joining us here in Dallas on this rainy day.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, appreciate you being here. And this is one of my favorite things I get to do is sitting down with industry leaders that have been in this market for a long time and getting to hear their perspective on what's changed in the market, what will be coming down the road. And so thank you again for being here. Excited about our conversation. I want to start with your background because it's really interesting, not just from the data center side, but also from the technology side. So talk about your background and how you got into this space.
Yeah, and it's kind of a good segue because we'll talk about data later on and how gravity matters to it. I really started back, if you go back to my industry days, in this industry about 5 years ago, started with Equinix, right? Prior to that, I was at HP, ran storage sales for HP Canada.
Okay.
And then I was at NetApp, but really kind of cut my teeth in the industry at Dell, selling servers and storage and just kind of the whole stack, which has been great for tying into this industry.
Sure.
Right. We started a little bit as, are you an industry that's networking? Are you an industry that's going and selling to enterprises? Or are you an industry that's really commercial real estate?
Yeah.
And we're a bit of an amalgamation of all of those. And I think having the background around data is going to matter to us as we go forward with enterprises and with CSPs, because at the end of the day, you got to figure out what you're going to do with it. Yeah. And that's part of what we do from an underlying kind of core infrastructure.
Yeah. It's always interesting to see how industry leaders, their backgrounds impact where the market is today. What are some of the changes that you've seen, over the last several years as you've been at Digital in the market and how users are approaching it today?
It's interesting if you think through kind of the maturation that we've had in the industry. Some of it I just spoke to in my earlier answer was started out kind of in twofold. You had a network world that was growing up, having network neutral peering sites, right? Then you also had customers that needed large capacity for wholesale. Yeah. And you're seeing those two kind of come together in the last few years. I think for the enterprises, if you go back 5 years ago, it was about interconnection. It was about how do I get to the CSPs? Yeah. Right? Now it's how do I think through digital transformation? How do I think through AI, 5G, all these different things, and really opportunities to create value for their businesses. But it changes how they architect their IT needs. Yeah. And so I think that's what you're going to see kind of come through now. And now it's not about how do I get to them. It's more about how do I make the most use of the data I have? Yeah. And how do I incorporate all these different opportunities for us? And I think Platform Digital does a great job of kind of coalescing that for everybody and bringing together a point of view that we can help enterprise customers with better solutions for them going forward.
So one of the interesting changes that has taken place over the last 3 to 5 years in the space has been the maturing data center user. And we certainly see different industry verticals approach the market, differently. Financial companies might look at redundancy in a different light than maybe a technology company would. Healthcare has a certain approach. Talk to us about what it's like to try to attract those different companies and what some of what your approach might be in doing that.
Yeah. We try to think about a customized approach for every individual customer. Right? They've all got unique needs and unique capabilities. To your point about the industry verticals, we still have a network vertical in our team, right? And we do that because of the value that they bring and how important they are to our business, and because they're unique. To your point, same thing with financials. So when you work with us, we're going to make sure that the rep knows your business, knows what considerations you have, as well as what opportunities there are for your business. So I think it works well the way we're doing it. But there's a little bit of a customized approach. And then broadly, we still have a huge opportunity around enterprises that are all still dealing with the same concerns, the same opportunities. They're trying to figure out, how do I deal with data gravity? How do I deal with digital transformation? And we think that the platform that we talked about and that we've rolled out, really built over the last, call it 15 years, but articulated in November around Marketplace Live and the event we have there annually, and we're going to do that every year. But what it did is it gave some context around, if you're an enterprise thinking about what do you do about your data, what do you do about networking and the whole digital transformation that's going on with AI and whatnot, then you need to have a context for it. and our context around platform digital and a pervasive data center architecture does a pretty good job covering most of those core kind of solutions that they're going to need.
Yeah.
And then we adapt from there to their specific needs.
Yeah.
But it's important to have kind of a mix of both.
Yeah, and it kind of goes into our next question just related to hyperscale data center users and enterprise data center users. And so, when I started back in the space 10 years ago, it certainly, the wholesale market was really wrapped around companies that had requirements in like the 1 to 4 megawatt range. And that was really, almost a higher point of where those 4 to 5 megawatt requirements, things like that. Certainly things have changed over the last 10 years, and we're in a almost new universe as some of some larger companies have had very large needs and all across the world. And so I think one of the interesting things about digital is and it kind of goes back to the platform, but you're in a position where you serve a lot of different customer, not just industry verticals, but I would say customer sizes. Talk about how you approach that and some of the challenges and also advantages that come with the platform.
Yeah, so a lot there. I would tell you that we think we're uniquely positioned to really take care of your large CSPs, your enterprise customers that might need one of these, call you a traditional primary or disaster recovery or business continuity kind of solution. And then also all the way down to an enterprise customer that needs interconnectivity. So you'll hear us talk about a single cabinet all the way up to multi megawatts. That's true and that's real. I think with the combination that we're going to have with Interaction in Europe here that's imminent, that'll put us in a really good position to talk about ourselves being a leader globally around interconnection, around anything from a CSP and a wholesale perspective to an enterprise. And I would tell you that the nice thing about being able to cover that breadth of the market is that the CSPs want enterprises in our data centers and in our ecosystems and in our communities of interest. Right? Enterprises want to be close to them as well. And so we're in a unique position where you go to one of our connected campuses and you might have a CSP there, multiples of them, also a whole lot of enterprise customers as well as network customers across the board. And I think that creates a community there that adds additional value, kind of a Metcalfe law.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's been interesting to watch the value of the ecosystem over the last 5 years, just in our industry as a whole, and hard to pinpoint the value, but it is significant. It is certainly driving more customer growth in areas where the ecosystem is richer.
I'd love to put a dollar value to it and understand exactly what it is. It's a little more esoteric and it's a little bit more fungible about it, but it's real. You find that the buildings and the locations where there is a community, then there's a different dynamic there in those markets.
I want to talk about the globalization of the business, and just mainly because you mentioned Interaction, but let's talk about why the business has really grown to be such, or focused on a global basis, and how important that is for businesses today. And then also as an IT infrastructure provider, how do we mature our platform so that it not just meets customers' needs in this country, but it can also do the same thing in another area of the world?
Yeah, I would tell you there's probably two aspects to it. One is globalization around what do our products and services look like, and how could we make that more consistent and easier to consume for our customers. If you think through global aspect of it, customers now want to be able to access their data and your app or your information or your service logs, whatever it might be, but they want to be able to do it dynamically, globally, meaning mobile from anywhere in the world. They want it to be quick and responsive. Think about how long it takes. If you have an app that takes 2 seconds to respond to, you kind of move on.
I'm done.
You're done. And if that's the app that you as an enterprise have that drives revenue or saves money for your company or for your customers, then that's a big issue for you. And so I would tell you that on a broad basis, having a global platform that you can work with makes it easier to do business. Then if you think through what am I doing from an IT perspective, you can't service the entire globe in a fast, low latency perspective if you only are going to do it in a traditional way out of a centralized data center. And so what you see is customers needing to think through where are their people, where are their customers, where's their data need to reside, and it generally needs to be in more than one location.
Yeah.
And so being a provider that has a global footprint that can address most of the major metros that people and customers and enterprises are going to want to be in,
Yep.
then it puts us in a really good position going forward.
Yeah. You mentioned latency, and I was looking at a few studies earlier this morning that showed, things like AI growth and autonomous car growth, and it was like 30 to 80% compounding annual growth over the next, 6 to 10 years in those. Mm-hmm. So just a lot of future growth coming from those technologies. How do you think that will impact the data center space as a whole? And again, this is, as you think about the AI, Internet of Things, autonomous driving, but how do you think that will impact the market?
I think what you're going to find from it, if you go back to my comments around data and data gravity, all that really is a lot of data and being pushed further out.
Yep.
And so what it creates is an opportunity for all of us. Mm-hmm. If you think through it, how are you going to deal with that, with that data? How are you going to deal with AI? How are you going to deal with 5G? And you're not going to put it all up in the cloud. Mm-hmm. You're going to need a customer. Your customers are going to need an enterprise data center where they can put it locally. Yeah. Think through hybrid cloud. You start thinking down that path.
Yep.
And so I would tell you on the AI and 5G and all these technologies that are going to create more and more data. Mm-hmm. And when we talk more, huge amounts of data, you've got to think through how you handle that. And one of the kind of frameworks that we've built and that our team can help partners or enterprises think through is, what do you do with the considerations you ought to have? Yeah. Right? And we tried to bucketize it in simple ways. Okay. Right. So 4 C's. So you think through, what's your capacity? Sure. You have capacity. Sometimes that means I need to have capacity in a multi-megawatt perspective. Yep. Sometimes it's just, you have a cabinet somewhere that I can get my connectivity. So capacity, coverage, global nature of this is going to matter to people. It's going to matter to customers. It's going to matter to enterprises. Control. Yeah. We can't have our data just moving around. You need to be able to control it and have a perspective around controlling it. And what does that mean? And then connectivity. And we actually separate control from connectivity and how we think about it and how we advise customers, because they really need to be separate from each other. And so when you think through those 4 C's, it gives us a good framework to help customers, help enterprises think through their AI and their 5G architecture. But then you start getting into conversations around the edge. Yeah, sure. Right? Yep. And then, and I don't know if you have a follow-on question, but the edge, if you think through that, because you start talking 5G, that's the edge. Yeah. Right? Well, now you're going to have customers that want to put data at the edge, but they still also need to put it back to their primary data. Yep. They need to figure out what they're going to do with the cloud aspect of it. And so you can't have that data reside in all 3 places all at the same time. Yep. We think we're in a good position to, one, help out on that. If you're an enterprise customer, there's opportunity to work with us to think through that architecture and that solution. But if you're a service provider and you're thinking about the edge and where you go, well, we're in 200 and something data centers. We'll be in 275 after the interaction. Yep. That's a lot of different points of presence that you can think through. And if you're a service provider that's trying to build it out, then we're also uniquely positioned to do kind of brownfield builds for some of the service providers that not everybody in our industry is as well equipped to do. Yeah. So a little bit of both. Yeah, and it's interesting because you can, I think companies are really looking to, especially those that want a global footprint, be able to have an easier path to getting that done. And, to your point, where you've got as many locations as you do, you've got large scalable facilities that can handle large growth over time. You have interconnected facilities down in like the core of different cities that are, heavily network dense. And so, it seems like you and others are well positioned to, handle the growth moving forward as it relates to these technologies. I think it's going to be good for our industry. Yeah. I think it's going to create more opportunity. And I think for enterprise customers, it's going to be a huge solve for them around performance and latency. Yeah. When I started, in the space, 10 years ago, the focus on energy and renewable energy was very different than it is today. I mean, we certainly have seen, in a good way, I don't think the industry was looking at it poorly then, but it just wasn't as big of a focus. What do you see from your perspective, from just
the importance of focusing on renewable energy like today and for the future of our space, simply because our space requires so much energy to function properly.
Yeah, you think about large power users.
Yeah.
We're kind of probably the poster child
Sure.
for it, right? And that's part of why on our end, we've got a long-term goal of being 100% renewable energy supported, right? In the last, I think, 3 years, we doubled our renewable energy sources. So that's positive. I've got a few stats here for you, but in 2018, we added 104 megawatts of renewable energy, brought us up to 288 megawatts of renewable. 2019, we added another 50, and then also another project with the Portland PG&E supply about 120 megawatts of power out there for the Hillsborough in Oregon.
Sure.
A little bit of that, and then more broadly, we also, if you think through just the environment, rather than just energy, right?
Yep.
We also signed an agreement with Nalco Water, which is a global leader in water management and technologies and expertise around our water strategy.
Interesting.
So how do you also think that part of the environment, just more broadly?
Yeah.
And then if you think through how that culminates and everything, given our kind of excellent track record in sustainability, we were named by the National Association of Real Estate Investment Trust, so NAREIT, a leader in the light around the award for data center stability for the, I think it's third year in a row. So just want to make sure I got a couple of those dates.
Sure, no, that's good, man.
It's a little bit more than I normally would try to remember.
Yeah.
But it's a focus for us.
Yeah.
And then back on your core question, you're seeing a lot more customers demand it, put it in their RFPs. CSPs, I think, are doing a great job with it. There's been some announcements around what their goals are, and that's going to help drive the industry, and it's going to drive how we react to it and how we stay ahead of it. But we think we're a leader in it, and we're focused on continuing it.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the water piece, because that certainly is, we can make more power, can't make more water. And so, it certainly is something that I think our industry is focused on. It's been, I think, rewarding and exciting for us to see companies like yours and others make some pretty big commitments to what it's going to take to get to 100% renewable, because it takes a lot of planning. It takes capital to do. I mean, it takes a lot to do it, but it certainly seems like it's on the radar for a number of companies.
Yeah, I would tell you it's more than on the radar. It's a focus for us. You think to the Nalco Water agreement that we did. That takes time.
Yep.
And nobody's pushing us on water.
Sure.
People are pushing on power.
Yep.
We're trying to stay ahead of it. So I'm just proud of the work the team's doing and where our progress is across it on renewable energy and just the environment broadly.
Yeah. You mentioned Platform Digital earlier. How is that impacting your go-to-market strategy moving forward?
It's been great for us. I think we announced it in November.
Yeah.
Just last week, we had 3 more articles come out from Gartner.
Okay.
Really kind of compounding on the virtues of what we've presented and our perspective. So the pickup from media, the pickup from analysts has been amazing about it. That helps your go-to-market, let's be honest, right? They're very influential and helpful, and they give good insights to enterprises that are thinking about how they go after solving some of these problems that they have and opportunities. And so how's it affected us? We, from a go-to-market perspective, it's been huge. It's going to create more demand. It's increased our pipeline. I think from a partner perspective, you have partners that listen here. From a partner perspective, it gives you a much better kind of solution-oriented and an opinion about what somebody needs, right? What it's changed is you've got customers now coming to us saying, help me with my strategy.
Yeah.
There's a different dialogue you're having with them, as opposed to, I think I need this, and here's an RFP.
Yeah.
Right? And it's broadened our aspect around who we're seeing come to us. In the past, it might have been networks, it might have been large CSPs. We're seeing a big movement with enterprises that are starting to consider us more and more. IDC, I mentioned earlier, some of the different things that are going with Gartner coming out. But IDC just put us in their kind of leaders wave. I think that's the right term, but the top and right of the IDC reports. So really good progress across the board on the go-to-market. And it's not just, how do you frame it up? If you just have a perspective, but you don't have a go-to-market sales team and sales engine with SEs and SAs, the whole ops team that we have behind it, making it real for them, then it kind of falls flat.
Sure.
So it's great that we've got a go-to-market group that can also help customers and coach them through it. We say trusted advisor. This is really maybe you've got a perspective, help us understand kind of framework for it. But it's been really positive and really well received.
Yeah, and I think your comment about the trusted advisor approach and, how can we have the strategic conversation versus the RFP conversation? Again, nothing wrong with an RFP, but I think if you're the data center users that listen to our content, I think you have got to think as a user, the people that I partner with are going to not just be with me today, but they will be my partner probably 3 years from now, 5 years from now, maybe even longer. And so, number one, from a relationship aspect, how am I utilizing the expertise they have to help me make the best decision I can? And then two, are they in a position not just today, but 5 years from now to help me grow? I think is so important.
Yeah, I think it's a bit game changing for
Yeah.
us as we go into the enterprise space.
Yeah.
Earlier, you asked about my background.
Yeah.
I could have said it differently. My background's always been selling IT to enterprise customers. Like that's the background.
Yeah.
But the trusted advisor aspect comes in when you've got a relationship.
Yep.
We don't have all those relationships. It's part of why we're really hugely excited about channel, platform, the partners, alliances that we can drive.
Yep.
And so I just hesitate on the trusted advisor because that's something you get and you earn over time.
Yeah.
But I do love that what we've got now brings a perspective
Yep.
and a point of view
Yep.
that I think and the analysts will tell you can really help a ton
Sure.
of customers
Yeah.
in their journey.
Absolutely. So, Corey, how is digital approaching different customer segments today?
I think it's a fair question, right? What customer segments are we focused on?
Yeah.
You asked it more in a vertical way.
Sure.
But you can also do it from Fortune 2000, Fortune 5000.
Absolutely.
What sizes. And I'll tie it back a little bit to just the opportunity that's out there. We're kind of greedy. We want all the customers.
Sure. Yeah.
And basic sales guy, right? But I will tell you that what we've done with our go-to-market approach is we've taken a different perspective on it. We've tried to say, out of all the customers we have, what are the commonalities that they have? Okay, why are they using us? Mm-hmm. And then we've taken that and reverse engineered to say, these are the customers that ought to be using our capabilities. They're multinational. They have a lot of customers. They have a lot of people. They have a lot of data. That's my salesman simplification of it. But there's a broader angle on that. And so sometimes that'll look like a North America-based oil change company.
Yeah.
It might be. It might also turn around and be your largest multinational food company.
Sure.
It could be any of those. And so on our end, we think that platform digital and really the driving macro trends that are out there give us an opportunity and put us in a really good position to take care of customers that might be in that commercial space or small business space, help them out in a huge way, getting connectivity to clouds and better connectivity broadly to their customers. But yeah, on the CSPs, we still are going to do that business.
Sure.
We love that business. So they're some of our best customers. Yep. But we think we can address a whole swath of customers. And on our end, if we're coming to you, we probably have done some analysis on your business.
Sure.
And think that you're a pretty good target for us.
Yeah. And you mentioned the channel partner approach. How is that impacting what you're doing today, just from a almost your go-to-market strategy as well?
Yeah, it's core to it. One of the three pillars that I have that are going to kind of propel us forward in the future, channel and partners is the third of those, right? And when I say three pillars, it's not third. You have to have all three pillars, otherwise it falls down. Yeah. I guess that's a bar stool or something. But yeah, it's part of it. It's core to what we're doing. When you ask about how's it impacted, 73% growth in new logos last year from the channel. Our channel was up to 17 or 18% of our business from a co-location. Yeah. That's up from the past. And it grew on its own 37%. So if you take those versus what the industry is growing, they're pretty good numbers and good early success. And we're focused on making sure we have the best program for the partners that we can. Yeah. We mentioned anything from a multi-megawatt to a single cabinet. Yeah. We talked about networking and interconnection. If you're a partner and you want to be able to go solve for a customer broadly in a multinational way, we're pretty good solution for it. If you're a partner that has a customer that has a network optimization need, pretty good solution for that. And so understanding who we are and how we work and having us do a better job enabling all of our partners, I think will really bear some good fruit for both our partners and for ourselves over the next time.
Yeah,
period.
that's good. Well, it's been fascinating to watch the growth of, digital. And I mentioned when we started, just watching the company grow over 10 years has been phenomenal. And I know the next many years will be the same. But what's your thoughts on what gets you excited about, being in this space? When you think about the future, we talked about some future technologies, but just, what gets you excited about, continuing to be in the space and be a leader in it?
It's funny. I should have just listened to the whole question before I started to answer. Because when you said, what are you excited about?
Yeah.
The first thing I get excited about is just the team we have.
Yeah.
I started here a year and 3 months ago.
Yeah.
And just the focus and the drive and I will say the passion they have around the business.
Yeah.
And around customers. And always trying to figure out how we do a little bit more and a little bit better and a little bit differently. Yeah. We mentioned kind of the coming together of the wholesale and the enterprise.
Yep.
We're in the middle of that,
yep.
and we're trying to figure that out. So the leadership team we have gets me excited. My broader sales team, SAs, SEs,
sure.
everybody gets us excited. And I feel like we're on a good journey.
Yeah.
But that wouldn't be enough if you didn't feel like we were in a really good position broadly with some macro trends.
Yeah.
You always hear, are the clouds, CSPs going to build their own and do something different? Sure. Everything that's gone on with this, I call macro trends, has helped out the data center.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Business.
Totally
right?
agree.
And I think that's going to continue. So we've got I'm not going to put a timeline on it,
Sure.
but we've got plenty of runway
to
continue to be successful. We talked earlier about, I think you were just trying to get your head around the amount of opportunity.
Yeah.
You gave me some stats, and I'm not too worried about what the stats are. The stats all say there's a really big opportunity, and we're all going to be really successful if we go execute on it.
You bet.
And so that's probably where I'd pull it back is the people we have, the messaging we have, the platform they built over the last 15 years gets me excited about it, mainly because we've got macro trends that are going to kind of, rising tides lifts all ships. And there's a little bit of that aspect to it. But I think we're better positioned than most.
Sure. Well, Corey, thank you so much for being here and really excited to get to see digital grow in the future.
I appreciate it. Thanks a lot for the time, Dave.
You bet.
Appreciate it. Thanks.